Hey, what's up, family? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Courage Chronicles, where we're just sitting down having conversations with everyday people who found the courage to dream, because I believe everybody dream, but not everyone finds the courage to dream and pursue that dream. So my guest today, I'm super excited. And I know that I say this every time, but I really am excited today because, listen, she's an author, she's an entrepreneur, she's a boss, she's a business owner. She is the president and CEO of Petra Pindar, Inc. She's a wife, she's a mom, she's a godmom. She's actually my son's godmother, so I'm a little bit biased with this one. I want you guys to welcome Petra Pindar to the Courage Chronicles. Petra, listen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I know how important time is. Listen, I thought my schedule was crazy, but I know that you got a lot going on, so I appreciate you being here.
It's a privilege. It is a privilege.
Cool. Well, listen, I want to jump right in, if that's cool with you. Tell me a little bit about Petra Pindar, Inc.
Okay, so Petra Pindar, Inc. started as a thought.
Okay.
And we were going to hang out, and I was going to do a blog and just, chat with the girls. And then it became a let's help equip women to do business well, to really help their communities thrive through creating legacy.
Okay.
And then I realized that it's really about wellness. So merging faith and wellness and equipping faith girls with all the tools to be well, spiritually, physically, mentally, financially, like all the things, right?
Yeah.
Because the goal is to be whole. That's what the word says. And so
Absolutely.
It's not just business. It's all the things.
Yeah. That's so dope. That's so dope. So I want to kind of go back a little bit, because one of the things that I'm sure you've heard is the two most important days of your life is the day that you're born,
Yep.
and then the day that you understand why you were born,
Yes.
when you realize your purpose.
Yes.
And so I want to know, like, at what point did you understand or start to realize your purpose, your role as a faith influencer? At what point did that start to become real to you?
Ask me again in 20 years.
Okay.
Ask me again, because
Okay.
I'm not sure if I fully have grasped it yet, right? So I think that we go into different arenas and our purpose acclimates to the arena.
Sure.
Right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if I am called to connect with people and to connect people, then it acclimates to that, whatever
Yeah.
that space is. And so realizing how that works, what that is, I think it changes every day. But I realize that what I'm called to is relationship.
I got you.
And so I create spaces for women to both have relationship with others and relationship with God, but most importantly, relationship with themselves and who God has called them to be. And so I see an expression of my purpose through their realization of them.
That's good.
So it changes.
I like it. I like that. That's so good. So take me back to your childhood for a minute. Like when you were growing up, one of the things I always ask people, what did you see yourself being or becoming? Like, did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur or a business owner? What was it for you that you dreamed about when you were a kid?
I wanted to be a neurosurgeon.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to be a neurosurgeon and go to med school and I wanted to be Dr. Petra. That's what I really wanted to do with my life. And I think that comes from my personal history. So I saw a lot of doctors, I had a lot of health issues. And so I wanted to be the person helping others to be whole and to be healed, right? So everything that I do goes back to one thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized I don't like math and science.
And you kind of need that a little bit, right?
That's not for me.
Yeah.
And so as I kind of matriculated and matured, I realized that I love to write, I love to talk, I love those things. And so I got into English and then decided on law school. And so that kind of went that way. And so I still got a doctorate, still technically Dr. Petra. They just don't say it that way.
Not giving shots and doing all that stuff. I got you.
Exactly.
I got you.
Exactly.
So you talked about you went to law school. So you went to University of Florida.
I did.
Go Gators, by the way.
Yes.
You went to the University of Florida. You studied English, and then you went to law school.
Yep.
So talk to me about that process when you begin to transition into entrepreneurship, because listen, one of my best friends is an attorney, and so the little knowledge that I do have about that field is very demanding. You really have to completely lean into that profession, like going to law school, taking the bar, becoming an attorney. Like, that's not an easy journey. And so talk to me about that journey, going through that process while also, were you thinking about entrepreneurship? So what was that process like for you? Because I would imagine that a lot of people that become attorneys, it's like, this is what I do and this is all I'm going to do. But you wear so many hats. Like, what was that like for you?
And I think because I always came in with, this doesn't have to be the end. Right? And so there needs to be something else, because I'm never going to see myself as one thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I'm in different arenas, I'm something else. And so I need to have something that allows me to be that flexible. And so in law school, I realized I didn't like the demand. I didn't like the competitiveness. That to me took away from the beauty of what we were there for, which was to help people and to build. And so when I realized that there were things I did like conflict resolution, mediation, ADR, like all of those things, and collaborative law, that's what I decided to go into. And so after that, then getting out of it, having children, getting married, okay, how do I apply this over here? And the Lord said, you know, you're able, again, you're called to connect and have relationship. Take those things that you learned there and put it over here, and let's see what we can do. Let's make a little something. Yeah. So we did event planning, we do the mediation services, I do contracts, like all of that thing, all of those things. Yeah. And I build off of what I've learned there, but because this was never the end, it was also never my focus.
So you went into it with a greater... So it was like it was a bigger picture from you from the start. Yeah. So you never went into it saying like, I want to solely be an attorney. That's so dope.
I can't live like that. I can't live like that. I think that for me, let me say not one people, but let me say for me,
I got you.
If I were to do that, then I think if I failed, or if I feel like I didn't fully complete, then that would devastate me more. Yeah. But if that's not it for me, then I can't fail at it.
I got you.
It can't be the end, right? Yeah. There's always something that I can grow. There's always something that I can take from it, and there's always something that I can give from it.
That's
that
dope.
Makes a difference.
No, that's so good. So, kind of want to. I didn't give you this question, but I want to just throw this in a little bit. So, it almost sounds like you had a plan from the start, like when you went into your journey of law school. So talk to me about the importance of planning.
I plan every part of my life. Like literally everything. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. Wow. It's just a thing, right? Yeah. And I think that if you have a plan, then you are able to be flexible without falling. Like, I think that that's the difference for me. Yeah. There's too much at stake if we just leave it to the wind. And so even going into law school, my goal was to do education law because and some people may not know this, but my family and my church has a school, and so my goal was to then go and help over there. So again, there's multiple areas that I was thinking about when I'm coming in, like what can I do? How can I stretch this? But you have to plan about what your goals are, what the expectations around you are, what God's plan is, and then see where they align so that you can have a full trajectory and not just some little shot put little thing, right?
I got you.
And so planning is important because it allows you to be who you are now, but ultimately who you're supposed to be. Yeah. Because there's enough gray area, but there's also some concrete things that when you feel troubled and you feel as though you're drowning, you can remember, but I planned for this. Yep. I planned for this moment of feeling weak, but I've already built this. So you haven't failed. Yeah. You do have gifts. You are called to something because you have produced. Absolutely. Right? Because if you plan for this moment of being weak and of being unsure, you're always able to look back at the moment you produced.
That's good.
And it helps you to propel into the next production.
Yeah. No, that's so dope. Yesterday I was in the gym and I was listening. I love Craig Groeschel. I was listening to his leadership podcast. Come on. And he was talking about the power in planning. And he was saying that one thing that all successful people do is they plan out everything of their day. He was like, he was talking about he plans out the meals he's going to have tomorrow. He plans out what he's going to wear. So when he wake up, like there's no wasted time. I love that. He plans what days am I going to just study? What days am I going to see people? What days am I? And so planning is essential. It is. To being able to fulfill purpose as you're chasing dreams, as you are pursuing passion. You have to just plan everything out. Everything that can be planned should be planned. Always. That's good. So you launch out, you have a plan, you're in law school, you know that I have a direction that I want to go. Sure. Like, how did you find the courage to launch? Because one of my favorite quotes, Les Brown says that the graveyard is the richest place on earth because it's there that you can find all of the gifts and the talents that were never launched and pursued. Sure. Because, like I said before, we all dream. I believe we all have passion, but for whatever reason, there's a lot of people that don't launch. And so how did you find the courage to launch out and say, you know what, I believe that this is what God has put inside of me, so I'm going to pursue purpose at this point? How did you find that courage?
I think when you get to a place where death is no longer comfortable.
Explain that.
Okay, so a lot of people are in a state of comfortability and complacency, and they don't realize that they're dying. They're not growing, they're not creating, they're not nurturing, they're dying.
So you're saying if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes.
I'm with you.
Yes, there's nothing there. There's nothing produced.
Yeah.
If you're standing still, what are you doing? What are you doing, right? What do you have to show for what you're doing? That means there's no life there. And so when you get to the place that death is no longer comfortable to you, that shroud, that darkness, that being hidden, then you say, okay, I want more than this.
Yeah.
I want more than this. And if I have to fight for it, if I have to lose while I'm pursuing it, if I have to fail, if I have to lose some people, if I lose the identity that I created and cultivated for myself to take on the one that he has for me, it's enough.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to stay dead.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay in this space because I have nothing to show for this space.
That's dope.
I got nothing here.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we look back over those seasons when our dreams and our hopes, we have them and they're sitting there, and then you wonder, what was that?
Yeah.
And all you have are the thoughts. You have no plans. You have no gifts. You have no reach. You have no momentum.
Yeah.
So you either have the courage to live, or you remain comfortable and die.
And you die. Wow. That's good, man. That's so good. So you launch or you die is what I hear you saying.
Yes.
In essence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you more alive now or before when you weren't doing these things? How do you feel right now? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you get to this space where you're really doing the things, even if you're unsure and you're afraid,
Yeah.
Are you more alive in that space?
Yeah.
Or were you more alive when you were comfortable?
Because I know one of the most uncomfortable or aggravating feelings for me is that feeling of, I know there's more, or I know that there's something that I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm just, for whatever reason, I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it.
For whatever reason.
And sometimes you don't know what the reason is.
That's true.
Sometimes you don't know. And so I think that that's also a scary thing for people too. They're feeling like there's more, they're hearing that there's more, they're getting that tug, but they don't understand it. And sometimes we have to get to the place where you don't have to understand, you just have to do.
You just got to do it.
You gotta do it.
And just trust God that he's going to...
Because he hasn't failed.
The failure is in not launching, essentially, is what I hear you saying. That's where you die.
I mean, here's the thing. If you're a believer, then you understand that God is not humble. Okay?
Yeah.
So God is going to spin the block about himself and about you because he's going to show up.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're really serious about doing what God is saying, then you do it afraid because you know that he's already got his hand on it.
Yeah.
And he's not going to let you fail because that means he failed. So you can do it and get the razzle-dazzle from Jesus, or you can stay over here and be plain.
Right.
God is not humble. He
Yeah.
called for us to be humble because he doesn't want us to take his shine.
Facts.
And so you launch for him and it blows up.
Yeah, he do the rest. Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. So during, we're talking about fear and sometimes that fear of failure, were there ever any moments where doubt
Always.
came on you while you were doing all this?
Sure. Every time.
How
Anything that I'm doing, I wonder, one, how it's going to get done, even though I know he's going to do it. Because I'm like, I am human, right? So I am fallible. I can break. I can misuse. I can do things that will hurt you and hurt your vision. So that's always a doubt. That's always a fear.
Yeah.
But doubt does not give you the right to be disobedient.
So that's not a legit reason to not do it. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yeah. That's facts. That's the word.
That's the word, right? So just because you have a doubt or you have a fear, that doesn't release you from the responsibility of doing what he's called you to do.
That's right.
And sometimes we just gotta get up.
Yeah.
And do it anyway.
Yeah.
And again,
It
trust him.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's not gonna call you to something just to watch you just fall.
Yeah.
So your doubt doesn't do anything but just prolong his plan.
Right.
It's gonna get done though.
It's gonna get done. Just, that's dope. So talk to me about support, the support system, the importance of a healthy circle, because I feel like having the right people around you, or the people that you have around you, can either make or break what you're going after. Because, I've learned that sometimes people can mean well, but because their minds, especially like for creatives, their minds, like if you're creative and you have people around you that are not creative, sometimes the things that you say can just sound really strange to them. Or even as an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's like, that sounds good, but it sounds so unattainable. Like, how can you? So talk to me about the importance of having the right people around you that's going to speak life into your vision.
Sure. You can't do anything alone.
Yeah.
That's just facts. Jesus didn't do anything alone, so
Yeah.
you can't expect to do anything alone.
Right.
And so I think there's also the reality that sometimes you need other people's wisdom, even if they're not a creative. So they don't see things the way you do, but there's a reason for that, right?
Right.
So they can show you different angles, different needs, different wants, things like that. So I think that that's important. I think that it's also a really good way for you to learn hands-on stewardship. Okay, so you're stewarding both your relationships, but you're also stewarding the way that you are in a relationship.
Okay.
And so there's multiple facets and reasons to having a good support system. It's not just for you. It's not just for your vision, but it's also for them. It's also for them. So you connect strategically and intentionally with the people that God has aligned for you, one, to fulfill the purpose and vision he has for your life, but also to be seated in the way that you need to for them, because you're seed for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there's something in me that if I am planted in them is going to sprout well.
Right.
And vice versa. And so you have to choose well the soil that you're going into, right?
That's facts.
And the same thing with them, because they're tilling you. They're
That's
planting
facts.
in you. And so you have to look for the people that you can grow with, but the people that can also, I'm going to use this word loosely, but chastise you, because sometimes you're going to get beside yourself.
Facts.
And get into some situations. So you have to have people that you trust their chastisement. You have to have people that you trust that they're really believing the God that you believe. Because people can say that they're worshiping somebody, but is it the same person, right? Because if they're praying over you, you better make sure they're praying to the right person.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have to have the people that are not going to be jealous of your acceleration.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so why is that important?
Because if they're jealous, they're not your friend, and then they're beginning to covet what you have.
And the hard part about that, sometimes you don't always see that. That's not always evident. Like those who may be around you may not be completely for you and what you got going on. So,
but that's why you have to pray for discernment.
You got to pray for discernment.
And then you have to actually utilize the discernment, because sometimes you'll know and you'll be like, no, I'm overthinking that. But the Holy Spirit is never wrong. You may be.
Yeah.
But the Holy Spirit is not. And so if you have prayed for discernment and an answer has been given to you, then you have to trust the answer.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good. So I want to talk about balance.
Yeah.
We were talking before the pod, and that work-life balance. So you're an attorney, you're a wife, you're a mom, you're a business owner, you're an influencer, you're a pastor's kid, you're a worship leader. Houses. like I'm sitting here like again, like I feel like I don't have very many people in my life who do quite as much as I do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. But like I look at your schedule sometimes and I'm like, how? Houseway, like how? Like I don't get this. Like how do you find that balance?
If I am honest, I do not always find it well.
Okay.
But I am willing to keep trying. Okay. But I also have in place parameters for when I feel myself getting burnt out that I need to automatically pull back.
Okay.
Again, going back to that circle of friends, there are people that tell me something is wrong.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I can't hear myself.
And you don't always see yourself.
I don't.
Yeah.
And so having those people that know you well enough and know your spirit well enough,
That's
so
good.
you are drained and depleted, you need to stop for a second.
Yeah.
There's also the reality that when we're talking about planning, because I do strategically plan my day, there are certain days that I'm doing certain things and then I'm not, right?
Yeah.
I only allot a certain amount of time each day for certain things. That even goes to being on my phone. That goes to my personal reading time. I take a Saturday every month. That's just for me, away from my family, friends, whatever. It's D&D. Like,
that's good.
It's for me.
Yeah.
But I think that also when you tap into, do you need to do this? Is it a priority for you, or are you just doing it to do it? Because again, what we talked about, I don't want to just do the things, I want to live well.
Sure.
And so when you talk about balance, it's not just planning, it's not just being present, it's being intentional, and it's having sustainable systems in place. And so figure out the systems that you need for your life to accomplish the things that you're called to do. And so if I'm called to all those things, right, that means that there has to be a system to achieve them.
Yeah.
And so what does it look like? So I can't lead worship every Sunday, but I can lead one Sunday, but I can still be in the praise team the other Sunday that's allotted to me, right? So I'm not leading every time that I'm up.
So you're saying you can tell church people no?
Come on.
No, I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering, like, because I know, like, ministry is what we do. Like, that's
completely.
So you're saying that you can say no to church work.
Jesus did.
So he didn't spend all of his time and energy in the temple.
Didn't.
So what I hear you saying is you can be about God's business, have your family be about your business, and still find balance.
Absolutely. If Jesus could take naps, I can too.
Facts.
Come through.
Yeah.
There are multiple times in the Bible, bro was sleep. I sleep. So why can't we?
Yeah.
And even if I have to schedule my rest, which I do.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to say that space of time, I do not have the capacity for this activity to fill it.
Yeah.
I do not. Right? Because I have margins. I'm not going to bleed into my margins if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, but they're margins for a reason, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to get to that place where I am completely burned out, because I have been there, and it is horrific, because you have completely lost yourself to the point where you don't even recognize you. And so you're giving to everybody else, but you don't know what you're giving them, because at that point you're pouring sand.
Yeah.
And so then you're clogging their well, and you don't even realize it.
That's crazy. It's crazy because, we're taught, to serve and to, especially in ministry, like when you grow up, you know what that church launch process is. I mean, you know all about that, and you know all about the grind. And it's like, sometimes if you're not careful, people will make you feel bad about saying, I just can't do this, or I can't be here, or I can't do that.
Absolutely.
And so to hear you say that it's okay to say, I'm going to just sing once a month. I'm going to lead once a month.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah. You either want excellent or you want subpar. You tell me. If you want subpar, I got you.
You could do it every week.
Come on. I'll show up for you. I'll do the basic for you. It's good.
Yeah.
But if you want excellent, where I have had time for full consecration,
sure,
then this is what it is.
That's what it is.
Because this is what he's called me to, right? Because I asked him before I told you no.
Yeah.
I didn't just tell you no because in my flesh I wanted to say no.
Sure.
Because just because you're tired also does not mean that you're able to walk away from your responsibilities and obligations.
That's facts.
That's not, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference. If there is something that you have agreed to do and that you are called to, and sometimes we're called to things that we don't necessarily like, by the way. Right? And there are things that we are responsible for, and he has called us to steward in this season so that he can trust us with the things that we actually want in the next.
So let's park there for a second. Because a lot of times we think about passion and dreams being pursued. We think about the things that we love doing. But what I hear you saying is there may be seasons of your life that you're called to do things that may not necessarily be something you're passionate about.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
1,000%.
Wow.
1,000%. If we were only focused on our own passions, will we lose sight of God's? You have to have seasons where you're stewarding the things that are uncomfortable for you and don't feel good for you. One, to show people that you can be obedient even if you're not happy, because happy is an emotion. But you are pursuing the joy of God, which comes from him alone. And so if you are in a space where all you can depend on is him, and this is what you're pulling from,
Yeah.
that you could steward the season well and then steward the one you want even better.
Wow. That's dope. That's good, man. You kind of touched on this a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk about self-care.
Oh.
Because in our society, we're taught to grind. We're taught to go get the bag. Whatever you have to do, stay on your grind. You know, you can operate on 3 hours of sleep. You know, you need to be up while everybody else sleeping and you grinding whatever. We don't have a lot of conversations around self-care. Because burnout is real.
Yes.
So talk to me about self-care for you, what that looks like for you. First of all, what is it important? And then what does it look like for you?
Yes, it is important.
Yeah.
For sure. Because again, we have to learn to care and love for ourselves the way that God loves and cares for us. And so that means we have to actually act it out, right? So we take care of our bodies and our vessels and our minds. I think that I also want to make a distinction that self-care is different from pampering and maintenance. So getting your nails done, getting your hair done, a lot of times people equate that with self-care. I don't always do that. For some it is, but to me that's maintenance. Okay, so that's, you know, dolling yourself up.
Sure.
But now if you get to a place where you're in those spaces where you feel the most alive, you feel like you're valued, you feel like you're getting to know you in those spaces, I would equate that with self-care.
Okay.
So for me, what self-care is those times where I'm most plugged into Petra.
Okay.
Whatever that looks like in that moment. So if it is sitting in silence and I'm just allowed to think without being asked questions, without being pulled on, without having to do any work, that's self-care to me because I'm getting to hear Petra's voice. Okay. I think that there's also, if I'm talking about my personal maintenance, then it's the thing that makes me feel most beautiful, not necessarily what outwardly is the most beautiful.
Okay.
So, like caring for my skin. So I had really bad breakouts. So doing the things, going to an esthetician, that kind of thing. Some people would call that maintenance, but for me, because it added to my own personal view of my self-worth, that's why I considered it self-care.
I got you.
Do you see, like, there's a difference between maintenance and caring for me.
Right.
Because you cannot care for what you do not know.
Facts.
If I don't know Petra, I don't know how to love on her. I don't know how to talk to her. I don't know how to care for her. I don't know those things. So to do self-care, self means self.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, I think it's important, and I think that it really depends on the person and their needs, and also what they hope to achieve from the time with them.
Okay.
If it's rest, if it's being more confident about who you are, if it's being more stable in your mind, because there was a time that I will be very honest, like my mind was, gone. Like I couldn't. I talked to your wife about this, like I could not hold my thoughts. Like I felt like I was floating. And so for me in that season, self-care was getting a therapist.
I got you.
And pulling back from everything. Like I'm done. Like I can't be a good friend. I can't be a good daughter. I can't be a good worship leader. I'm not great at work. I'm good at work, so they think it's great, but okay. You know what I mean? Like all of those things, but in that season, my self-care was therapy.
I got you.
Because I had to get to Petra.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That's so good. So I mentioned earlier that, you know, anybody can dream, but not everyone finds the courage to dream and pursue that dream. Because it's one thing to dream and it's another thing to pursue passion. Oh, yes. I want you to speak to, maybe there's somebody that may listen at this and they know that they have purpose on their life. They know that there's something more than what they're doing. They know that maybe they feel like they're floating. Yeah. Right? Yeah. How do you speak to that? Like, how do you speak to that person and encourage them to say, just start, just launch?
I think that the first thing that I would tell them that what they're feeling is not a mirage. It's real. Yeah. Because sometimes we think of dreams as things that are not tangible and they're floating and we can never achieve it anyways, but it's real. That's real. It's real. What you're feeling is real, and he gave it to you for a reason. And the reality is that plan, that purpose was created before you. And then you were created specifically for it. Right. And so if you're willing to trust him, even in your fear, in your doubt, even in just the dream stage, you'll see that you've already been equipped because he created you specifically for the plan and the passion. You were created for that. The word talks about he created the plan and then called us to do the good work of it. So we're worried about something that's already been done.
Yeah.
He's already created us for it. We're equipped for that. And so these dreams and these passions and these pursuits that we have, all we have to do is say yes. And then we begin to see the mile markers that were always there.
So what I hear you saying is not so much about your ability, but more so your availability. Because I've heard people say that God doesn't equip you and then he calls you. He calls you and then he'll give you what you need. And so, maybe somebody's feeling like I don't have what it takes to do what I'm called to do or what I'm passionate about. But it's like,
that's not the question.
I hear you saying that you can't let that stop you.
That's it. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, it's just a yes. That's it. It's the yes that he requires. It's the yes. He knows that you're not strong enough for all this stuff. He knows that you don't have all the answers, and that's how he likes it. God, I don't know why I said that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what he likes, and he created this plan that seems impossible for you, but he said that you're the right one. I've given you everything that you need. I just need you to say yes so I can turn on the lights. And you can see. He's a lamp unto our feet. Why do you think that is? All you have to do is put one foot in front of the other and you'll begin to see the markers. They're always there.
Right.
Like you said, it's availability over ability.
That's crazy. Wow. Hey Pretty. Talk to me about Hey Pretty. What is Hey Pretty all about?
This is my baby. Well, I have 3 babies.
I was going to say.
Right, so if they ever see this, okay, listen. I got 3 babies, Sterling, Jack, and Evie. So those are my babies. But Hey Pretty, wow. I don't think that I ever thought that this was possible. And so Hey Pretty is both a platform, a ministry, a movement of allowing and propelling women into this place of seeing them as God sees them. And so it's from Songs 4 and 7. There are no flaws in you, right? You're altogether beautiful, my darling. And so it really speaks to value and worth and understanding that we're already whole. And a lot of times we're looking to fill these gaps in ourselves, but it's this season where we're supposed to love ourselves fully. Not look to fill anything, just love ourselves. Fully. And so putting us into this position of being called as God calls us, which is pretty, which is beautiful, which is unflawed, right? And so giving women this space to be loved on, to be treated like the luxury item that they actually are. God does not make basic. He does not make basic. And so I'm able to now create these spaces for women to come in and be loved on like they are the hot stuff. Because that's what God wants. That's how he loves on us.
Right.
And so teaching them how to do it, bringing them experts, bringing them into connections, giving them experiences that they wouldn't have inside of a church. Nothing wrong with church. I love church, y'all.
Sure.
But the reality is that the majority of the women our age and younger are no longer going to church.
That's facts.
Okay, so we need to get them into a space where they can see and feel God enough to want to pursue relationship with him regardless of if they're over there. And so to do that, I have to love them well here. I have to steward them well here. And so that's what Hey Pretty is about, stewarding both ourselves and our relationships well, the way that God has called us to. And so that's what we do.
That's dope. That's so dope. So kind of a follow-up to that. So how do you, because if we're honest, like we live in this social media driven world. And most people spend so much time just scrolling in there. And whether we realize it or not, we're constantly comparing and feeling like we're not enough. And we're feeling, so how do you combat that? Like how does Hey Pretty help with that? Because I know that you say we're beautifully made and God didn't make any junk, but it's like, but then I see here, I'm like, I don't measure up to what I see, and I'm in this world of comparison. And so like, how do you combat that? Like, what do you say to that?
I show them me. I show them me. I have a limp. I've had multiple surgeries. I've had cancer. I have lost a lot of things. There's no one on my team that looks like. We all got different body shapes. We all have different incomes. We all have different successes and failures. Who I bring is the same way. We do different age demographics, different ethnic, like all the things, right? Because no one is perfect, but we're all being perfected because we belong to him.
Yeah.
Right? And so he takes the time with each of us, and so we put that on display. I get up there feeling self-conscious, and like, I don't know if y'all gonna really connect with me or feel comfortable with something, with someone, leading you that is broken. I don't know that, but I do it anyways.
Yeah.
And because I'm willing to put myself on display, that means that I'm willing to put you on display too. I make space for you.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. Like, I want to create space.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
That's so dope. So what's next? What's next for Petra? What do you have coming up next?
So we have the Be Well Pretty courses. They are
Okay.
the wellness courses that are dropping in June.
Okay.
And so they will have experts that come in and teach all of our girls on our wellness area. So spiritual, physical, financial, relational. Did I say physical?
Mm-hmm.
I did. I'm missing one. Mental.
Okay.
Mental
All right.
wellness. Yes. So there will be 6 free courses that we're offering to kind of get women into a position of understanding what wholeness actually looks like. And so actual tips and solutions on to change their everyday lives from basic to pretty.
That's so dope. Well, Petra, thank you.
You're welcome.
Like, I know that we go way back, and I don't take this space for granted. Like, I was thinking before you got here, I was like, man, you know how you've known somebody so long until you don't even know when you met?
Yes.
Like, I don't ever remember not knowing you and your family.
Agreed.
Like, our parents go way back, and so
Yep.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Where can we connect with you? Like, how can we follow? Where can we find you?
Sure. So super easy. So I'm real simple. Petra Pindar, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and then P Pindar Inc. on Instagram as well if you want to follow that, and then Hey Pretty Merch on Instagram as well. I'm deleting my TikTok, so y'all don't even worry about it.
I got you. That's what's up. Well, I appreciate you again. Listen, thank you guys for joining us. I hope that you are full from this moment. I hope that you got all of the many gems that were dropped. Listen, if you are new, do me a favor and subscribe. You can catch this podcast wherever you get your podcast. Catch us next time. Thank you guys for rocking with us. We'll catch you next time.